We start the episode with Ben relaxing with Gwen and Kevin at Mr. Smoothie's. Apparently, there was some sort of promotional thing going on that day with special cups, though they didn't really much care. There were some people in line that were fans of Ben, though he quickly put a stop to those people bothering them and went back to enjoying their smoothies. Just then, a group of people wearing knight armor blasted through one of the walls of Mr. Smoothie while Ben yelled out that they have a door, before hitting the Ultimatrix, changing into Spider Monkey. He, Gwen, and Kevin then all got ready for a fight, but strange part was the knights weren't there to fight them. They instead gone over to the counter and blasted it before ripping out one of the smoothie machines. Gwen speaks up asking if she's seeing this right. The Forever Knights were stealing a smoothie machine. Seriously? While we see another knight going through the special cups, then yelling at one of the workers there before being interrupted by Ben, who'd shot a web at them, and then swung the knight yelling at the worker into the other guys in armor, which made them start fighting the group. Kevin joined in the fighting next, fending off a few of those knights while the civilians were just standing there cheering like a bunch of idiots instead of, getting out of the way of the battle. They'd almost been blasted if it wasn't for Gwen throwing up a magic barrier. She'd then moved the barrier to behind the knights and then created another one, pushing it up against the first, flattening them against it. The Forever Knights then retreated with the stolen smoothie machine, and Ben wanted to follow, but the crowd had started to get in his way. He'd gone ultimate to scare them out of his way, as he'd then used the webbing to try and hold the Forever Knights in place, though they teleported and gotten away. Kevin says that the teleporter is new, and Gwen asked if that's seriously what grabbed his attention and not the fact that they just stole a smoothie machine. Ben tells them to stop while reverting back to human and tells them that they needed a way to figure out what's going on with the Forever Knights, and that there's one guy that's always in the know when it comes to stuff like this. The guy they go to see was Cooper, who had been working on something but stopped once they saw who had come to visit. He'd asked them if it was a social visit or if they were there to ask about the Forever Knights, to which Ben says that they were there for the latter and asking what information they'd gotten so far. Cooper begins to show how strange they've been acting lately, hitting up a pizza joint, then about 2 days ago they'd hit up a burrito joint, and today was the Mr. Smoothies that they had gone to at the time. Ben asks Cooper if he could get a hold of someone within the organization, to which Kevin says they work in secrecy. What's he gonna do, pick up the phone and call? Though Cooper says, not the phone, and then activates a video call contacting one of the knights as things were shaking in the background of the video before they cut the feed, since they'd had to leave and leave fast. They asked for a location and Cooper tells them. We then see them standing in front of a completely destroyed castle, wondering what had done this. Ben says that they need to keep investigating, and they drive off talking to Cooper on video call. He'd mentioned another castle was broken last month, and soon they were at the next location. This castle hadn't been busted down yet, so they could ask what was going on. The castle had massive lights, and it was being well protected by several guards. Gwen mentions that it seems like stealth is out, to which Ben shrugs, saying stealth wasn't really their style, before hitting the Ultimatrix, changing into Lycanthrawler. Gwen asked if he was feeling nostalgic again, and he says he was going for Jet Ray, but this will work too. Ben rushes the gate with his snout splitting open and letting out a powerful sonic howl that knocked back the guards that were in their way, before doing the same to the ones up top of the gate. They'd rushed into the castle only to find Argit, who was laying on a throne couch with a scepter, crown, and king's robe, making them all stop, looking confused. They asked Argit what exactly was going on there and demanded to know what kind of scam he was pulling, as a large, mostly mechanical yellow alien appeared alongside that of a very large, turtle-like creature as well. Argit introduced them to Andreas and Galapagus, who had been his new friends that he'd made, with a twisted sort of smirk. A yellow beam shot from the Ultimatrix and scanned both of the new guys. He then tells them both that Argit is a rat who only cares about himself. While Andreas seemed confused by that, Galapagus asked could Argit really have been lying about helping them get home perhaps. It had been months and he hasn't done anything to help them. Argit tries to talk his way out of that, while Andreas looks angry and upset. The only real person he was sure was his friend was Galapagus. The others, he didn't know who to believe. Galapagus asked the others if they knew of any way to help them get home, to which Ben says that they can just arrange them a ride, though he wasn't sure whose side to believe still. He tells Andreas that perhaps they should simply go their own way until one of them is able to actually prove that they are genuine in wanting to help them. As they were discussing this, someone walked in and Argit demands to know who dares just barge into his castle. The man tells them that his name is Sir Dagonet, and this is not Argit's castle. It's his, and he would be taking it back now. He then orders the knight Knights to all take down the intruders upon their halls, and they all turn their blasters onto the group. Argent then tries to act like Andreas and Galapagus were the villains, and he was just playing along, groveling at the feet of Sardagonet, and firing his quills at the group, paralyzing them in the process, while he removes the crown and robe, handing them over to them. But sadly, he wasn't stupid enough to believe him, and so Argent was also taken to the dungeons as well. Ben calls him an idiot, asking if his schemes ever work. While he, Gwen, and Kevin were all leaning against the wall, Argent tries to say that his scheme saved them, but they need to bust out before the Forever Knights come back, because they were all next after they were done killing Andreas and Galapagus. Ben tells Argent the only person being killed would probably be them, and then changes forms into Echo and unleashed Sonics that knocked the knight standing guard a good distance away as Kevin rips open the gate after absorbing the stone of the wall, and they all run off to go save the two Andromeda aliens that were about to be executed. Before they can start, Ben hits the Ultimatrix, changing into Ultimate Echo and launched out 2 discs that then multiplied surrounding the Forever Knights as he called out Sonic Doom, locking them in a sonic chamber that caused the weapon they were aiming at Andreas to malfunction, while Kevin freed them and then freed Galapagus as well. Once Ben stopped, the Knights set the broken device to overload and slammed it into the ground before teleporting out. Ben tells everyone to get out because he's got this one. Kevin says that thing would take out 5 square miles, and Ben just tells them to go. He's got this. The others run off, and Ben hits the Ultimatrix symbol, changing into a very small form, flying into the machine and getting annoyed that he can't make heads or tails of it, so he changes into gray matter. Ben could now figure out the best way to deal with that and found what he was looking for, removing the power core without letting it explode in the process and throwing it out onto the ground, then jumping out of the device and changing back to human. He'd picked up the device and the core and walked out with everyone glad to see that he was alright, and Ben says that he would contact the plumbers for the two of them. The final scene, the two were being taken off-world as a tractor beam fires from a cloaked but familiar ship, pulling them inside. We then see a shot of Galapagus, Andreas, Bivalve, Pandor, and a 5th alien that we haven't seen before, all locked in cryo chambers, with a familiar dark-haired man smiling.